I've been racking my brain over the last few days trying to figure out how I want to express what I feel about the whole Sony and the death of physical media. I was having trouble figuring out exactly what I wanted to say and how I was going to say it. And I don't have a prepared script in front of me because I don't make videos very often. And people who can articulate themselves much better than I can at this sort of thing, they've already said a lot of what we're thinking. But it hit me the other day. There's a couple of reasons why the death of at least two that I can think of right off the top of my head, why the death of physical media is a really bad idea. I have been playing games pretty much all of my life from the time I was about 3 years old. About three or four. I started around 1982, and I just I've come up through the generations and had various consoles and at different times and various libraries of games. I don't have a lot of those games anymore because for reasons I had to sell them. I had to sell a lot of them. So if Sony and Microsoft and other gaming conglomerates, if they go the completely digital route, pardon me, what they're going to do is they're going to kill the free market. You won't be able to trade your games. You won't be able to sell your games at pawn shops, or you won't be able to sell them in classifieds. You won't be able to sell them to neighbors. You won't be able to share them with anybody. And I needed to sell my collectibles. I needed to sell my games. I needed to trade them. And so if everything goes digital, this is going to kill that. It's going to kill the free market. And that's their aim. That's their aim. This is what they want. And to me, this is bigger. This is bigger than games. I keep going back to this whole World Economic Forum memorandum of you'll own nothing and be happy. This is what they want. And we can't let them do this. Cancel your I mean a lot of people have cancel your PlayStation subscriptions. Don't bend the knee to this cuz and I'm editorializing here, and opinions are like assholes and everybody has one, so take what I say with a grain of salt or don't take it at all. But don't bend the knee because these these companies, these like the Ubisoft and the EA and the Sony, particularly all these companies they've gone all in on this DEI and ESG and all this political rhetoric. That is what DEI is. It's political rhetoric. It's language designed to manipulate people, and it's been used to create speech laws about quote unquote hate speech and censorship laws, and just I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. I mean I am. So excuse me while I grab my tinfoil hat. But they want to control what you think, not just what you own or what you do, but they want to control what you think. And we think in language, we express our thoughts in language. So If you can control the language that people use, you will stand a better chance at controlling how or what they think. There's a few more reasons I can think of why we need physical media. Number one, because we own it. We paid for it. We paid for it. We paid for our movies. We paid for our music. We paid for our games. We paid for our consoles. And I'll tell you something about Steam as an example. And I'm not criticizing Steam here. I use Steam. Lots of people use Steam. And as somebody who strictly pretty much games on PC now, I do all my stuff on PC. PC owners and PC players have been dealing with the digitization of games for years now. But the thing with Steam is that when you buy something off of Steam, you don't actually own it. You rent it. You don't own it. And it's convenient. Digital downloads are convenient. Sometimes they're quicker. But there's something about purchasing something, being able to hold it in your hands, being able to spend your money that you earned or a gift that you were given or whatever. Like my dad, for example, my dad gifted me a PlayStation 4 in 2017, I want to say. 2017, he gifted me a PlayStation 4. Um and the last console I actually bought was the Wii U. And the Wii U was a great little console, by the way. It was fantastic. I had a lot of fun with it. And I had fun with my PS4. I don't really use my PS4 anymore because I can't afford the membership. So I can't use a lot of the features that are associated with a lot of the games that I paid for. I could still watch Blu-ray movies on it. So there's that. But I don't generally play games on my PlayStation anymore because I can't afford it. It's not worth, what do they want? Like $224 a year Canadian for it. I know there's like 2 or 3 different tiers, but it's not in my budget and it's really expensive and it's going up. The cost of it is going up. It's the same thing with Netflix and other stupid digital platforms. It's always going up. So I don't pay for a PlayStation Plus anymore. It's just not worth doing. But I still have my physical games. They're still on my shelf, the ones that I have. I still got a box of big box PC games. I had to sell my Wii U, and like I said, I've had to sell a lot of my consoles. And if these corporations, I'm not sure if I mentioned this because I'm kind of rambling here and I'm sorry about that, but they don't care about the consumer. They don't care about the people who play the games. They don't care about the people who buy the games. They're just, they did at one time, like, what was his name? Yoshida? I can't remember his first name, but the last game he worked on was Ghost of Tsushima. He was one of the higher ups at Sony. And the last game he worked on was Ghost of Tsushima, which by the way it's a fantastic game. and and Nintendo had like Satoru Iwata. Um these and Reggie Fils-Aimé. These guys actually cared about the games. They were passionate about the games. and you could tell, but ownership changes hands, and now you could really tell the difference because they don't care about the consumer. They don't care about the people who play the games. They don't care about the people who buy the games. It's all about how much money they can make. How can they milk that cow? Excuse me. And Ubisoft is another example. What did the what did the former head of Ubisoft say? You're not going to own your games, and too bad. Tough. Deal with it. Put up with it. And the head of Microsoft at one point, one of the heads of Microsoft said, "You don't have an online all the time connection? Too bad. Go buy an Xbox 360." And just the arrogance and the hubris of some of these people. And we're seeing it, in my view, we're seeing it now with Sony. The company that said in 2013, "Here's how you share your games." And then they made that whole thing about one guy standing there and they hand him a game and they say, "Here you go." It's not like that anymore. They don't want to do that anymore. There's another reason that we need to keep physical media. And if you want to have your digital stuff, that's fine. That's great. Fantastic. But the physical media option should always be there for people who want to buy it, for people who collect it, for people who want to preserve. One of the reasons that we do this is because we want to share this with our children. We want to share this with future generations so that they might experience the same sense of joy that we got when we were that young. I remember God, it had to have been in about 84. For Christmas that year, E.T. was my favorite movie. So I got the movie on VHS for my birthday. And then that same year for Christmas, I got E.T. the video game for Atari 2600. And we figured out how to play it. I was excited to get it. So we want to share this with future generations. Like I said, in the hopes that they might experience some of the same joy that we did when we were that age. And it's also about preservation, historical preservation. Video games are a part of history. And for my generation, for the people that were born in the 70s and 80s, and I suppose the late 60s as well, this was part of our culture. Like, we went to arcades. We were the first generation to have home consoles. We were the first generation to have home computers. We were the first generation to have internet access. Back then it was BBSs and things like that, but so it's a part of our culture. And that's why it's worth preserving. I don't have too much sympathy, and this is kind of cynical, but I don't have too much sympathy for the AAA gaming industry. There's a huge problem when games cost hundreds of millions of dollars and years and years of development. People today, or I don't know if it's the just that all a lot of these companies seem to hire a bunch of activists and the message comes first that's got to stop too. That's garbage. That's all that political stuff that they shoehorn in games. That's really got to that somebody's got to cut that crap out. They really have to cut that out subliminally or otherwise. They've just it's not working. It doesn't work. When you put politics first, in your stories and in your games. They make bad games. This has been demonstrated over and over and over again with stuff like Concord and what was the other one? Uh the 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 one with the stupid rock band and the Dustborn. That stupid hunk of shit. This has been demonstrated over and over and over again. In my opinion, at the end of the day, a game is still a game, and you can have good stories like Ghost of Tsushima, for example, or you can have a God of War. You can have an interesting and compelling story with good characters like your Metal Gear Solid games. But at the end of the day, a game is still a game, and if it doesn't play well, it's not going to do well. I don't think they do well. If they don't play well, they're not going to do well. Or if you shove too much of the message in people's faces, like if somebody sits down to play a game like Dustborn, they don't want to be insulted or condescended to. They want to sit down and play a fucking game for a while. So I think I've been wondering, when are people just going to get back to making games? And you can have representation in a game or whatever you want to call it. You can have black characters, you can have gay characters, you can have women, you can have short people. I was about to say midgets. I don't even know if that's politically correct anymore. You can have any kind of characters you want in a game. Make sure they're written well, and make sure the story is congruent, and make sure the game is fun, and make sure the game plays well. You want a game to be engaging. You want it to be fun. You 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 want to create a sense of exploration or a sense of, you're a hero or whatever. You know, people just need to stop shoehorning their stupid political ideologies in games. And that's what I miss. I miss when games were fun. I miss going to the arcade and popping a quarter in the machine and sitting down and playing a game of Bad Dudes for 20 minutes while I beat up ninjas and, kick dogs that are trying to bite me, and nobody makes a big deal out of it because it's a game. Or, I put a quarter in and I got to play Karnov for a while and breathe fire. This is why I'm excited about like the stuff coming out of the indie scene. I think the indie scene represents a kind of a renaissance. Um cuz there's more creativity in there, and there's a lot of imagination in there, and some people are just telling great stories. They're telling great stories with great characters, or just really fun games with gameplay loops that are engaging and that people enjoy, and they don't mind supporting their creators. A great indie game I really enjoy is the Crimson Diamond. I've really enjoyed the Crimson Diamond. It's very much a throwback to the old Sierra games that I enjoyed, the Police Quest 2s and the Space Quest 3, King's Quest games, the Sierra Adventure games. So I've really enjoyed it. That's what's missing in the AAA gaming industry, is they forgot to make them fun. There's too much obsession with, realistic physics, or how real can we make this, or how can we push the message, or we got to make sure this isn't offensive. Maybe that's why there hasn't been a Duke Nukem game in a long time. Well, that and the debacle that was Duke Nukem Forever. I don't really have any sympathy for the AAA gaming industry. I think it's a big part of the problem. I wouldn't be surprised if the game industry, the big budget game industry, collapses under its own hubris. I remember when people used to argue about like Sony and Nintendo or Microsoft, and they'd argue over which one was better and which one had better games and which one had a better UI, and I'd think they all want your money because they're a corporation. right? They're big business. And the goal of every corporation, if I remember correctly, is to make as much money as possible at as little cost to them as they can. And I think quality suffers for that a lot of the time. But I wish that the AAA gaming industry would sort of take more from they're not going to, but the indie scene, the indie games, they show that you don't need big budgets, you don't need millions and millions and millions of dollars to make interesting games that people want to play, to make engaging games that people want to play. They don't always have somebody with the arrogance to say, well, we don't make games, we're creating experiences. Fuck you, you're creating games. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I want to focus on equity. Equity and equality are not the same thing, they don't mean the same thing. Equity is the measure of the monetary value of the things that you own, be it property or your collectibles or just things that you own. And I had a friend who used to do that for a living. She would go into people's homes and appraise their stuff. So she explained to me what equity is. She goes, I go into their homes and I tell them how much equity they've got. So the equity is the monetary value of the property that you own. And isn't it interesting that this whole you'll own nothing and be happy? And they, like the World Economic Forum, for example, the think tank that's the World Economic Forum, wants to own everything and you'll own nothing. That's their goal. So the next time somebody's talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, think about that. Think about what equity means. And that they state you will own nothing. There's one quick note I want to mention before I go. I forgot to mention when I was talking about Steam and how you rent things from Steam. Primarily, what I do these days when I get the games that I get them from GOG. I like GOG. I like their no DRM policies. I like their refund policies. They always have bundles and they're always on sale. And they got some pretty good games on there too. And the best thing about GOG is that when you buy something from GOG, you can download it, you can put it on a disc, you can put it on a flash drive, you can put it on an external hard drive, and it's yours. You can share it with your friends. It's yours. So that is my preferred platform that I go to when I buy my games. It's GOG. I highly recommend it. If you made it this far in the video and you've never really checked out GOG, you really should. I don't think you'll be disappointed. They really need more. They need more love. They're one of the best gaming platforms of the modern era, I think.